Even though the Indiana Fever prevailed in the basketball game, the audience at Gamebridge Fieldhouse was utterly disinterested. At home, the watchers were nodding off. Despite winning 83-71 against the Atlanta Dream, the game felt like a funeral. Greetings from WNBA Pro again. We are dissecting the complete illusion of the Fever's most recent triumph today. The manufactured narratives are being removed. We are revealing the unvarnished reality of what is truly going on behind the scenes, much like our unedited split-screen thumbnail designs that depict the genuine dynamic between Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark without any artificial fire or stickers. We are delving into the psychological battle taking place on the ground, the horrifying truth that the coaching staff is purposefully attempting to transform a generational superstar into a mere role player, as well as the utter hypocrisy of the minutes restriction. We are the only channel bold enough to remind you that a victory isn't always a success story. So click the subscribe button today. First, let's look at the entire floor product. You most likely like this game if you are an old guard WNBA purist. It was a low-scoring, slow-moving half-court defensive struggle. In the first quarter, the Indiana Fever managed a pitiful 15 points. However, head coach Stephanie White wants to impose this particular basketball approach on this team. Stephanie White prefers basketball that is slow, dull, and predictable. More significantly, she wants Kelsey Mitchell to be the main scorer, Aaliyah Boston to be the backup, and Caitlin Clark to be the third wheel. Listen to this insightful analysis of how White's approach is stifling the league's most exciting player.
Being the second leading scorer, and Caitlin Clark being third wheel, playing like an upgraded version of Sue Bird. Now, I've said this previously, and I'll say this again. It does seem to me that Stephanie White thinks Kelsey Mitchell's the best player on this team, Aaliyah Boston's the second best player on this team, and Caitlin Clark needs to sit back and be a role player, finding everybody else.
Acting like a more advanced Sue Bird. That is the most awful assessment of what we are currently witnessing. Caitlin Clark was selected in the draft to serve as this team's primary offensive engine. She is the drink-stirring straw. However, Stephanie White has put in place a strategy that requires Clark to watch everyone else play while he sits back and passes the ball. The worst aspect is that Caitlin Clark is deliberately being influenced by this constrictive coaching approach. The hesitation is seen in real time. For the first time this season, Clark did not appear to be the self-assured, fearless shooter who dominated college basketball. She appeared to be afraid of making a mistake. Observe precisely what occurs when a coach undermines a player's self-confidence.
I saw her second-guessing today more than I've seen her second-guess all season long. Some of the shots she missed today is because we're taking 4 extra dribbles that we would never take. We're trying to do moves that we would never do because we're not sure if coach is going to bench us if I shoot this. It's very interesting. And I'm sure Stephanie White is just patting herself on the back. Oof. I really did a good job today. Oh, I really did.
We're doubting ourselves. Because we are unsure if the coach will bench us, we are attempting actions that we would never take. This is the pinnacle of coaching negligence. When a player consistently makes shots from the logo, the system causes her to take 4 extra dribbles and hesitate on wide-open opportunities, rather than giving her the green light. Caitlin is aware that she will be benched immediately if she takes a shot that Stephanie White thinks is poor. The world's most entertaining basketball player is being totally destroyed by this psychological cage. This coaching staff's hypocrisy doesn't end there. Let's discuss the complete fabrication of the minutes restriction. A few days ago, Stephanie White used the excuse that she was controlling minutes and resting the squad to defend withdrawing players 3.5 minutes into the game. However, take a look at what transpired against the Atlanta Dream in the first quarter.
Comments. Stephanie White, she said Aaliyah Boston was on a minutes restriction. But today she played 9 minutes to start the first quarter. Last game, she was on a minutes restriction. They needed to pull her 3.5 minutes into the game. And today, that minute restriction has been lifted. She suddenly is playing 9 minutes in the first. Again, Stephanie White just being a bold-faced liar. That's what she does. She lies. Stephanie White lies. But one thing we did see today, Caitlin Clark, well, that bad defense.
Just that. The minutes restriction abruptly vanishes. The first quarter begins with Aaliyah Boston playing 9 straight minutes. When it suits her own story, Stephanie White modifies the rules. It demonstrates that load management was not the reason for the early replacements we observed in earlier games. They dealt with punishment and control. Naturally, though, the coaching staff is aware that they are being closely watched by the supporters. They are aware that throughout the week, the internet has been criticizing them. What then do? To give the impression that everything is good, they staged a viral moment. Caitlin Clark made a wicked, unguardable sidestep three-pointer during a 9-0 run. It was a glimpse of the former Caitlin. Stephanie White also made sure to locate Caitlin on the sidelines for a widely reported hug and chest bump right after the play. However, independent media doesn't buy it at all.
Sidestep three. This was a nasty move. This was an absolutely nasty move. Pull up. Bang. And I believe this was on their 9-0 run. Caitlin Clark finds Kelsey Mitchell. Her and Stephanie White, nice little chest bump action. Phony, of course. Phony. Everything Stephanie White does is phony. But cool. This is that defense that Caitlin Clark doesn't play?
Fake. Stephanie White is fake in all she does. It's a huge publicity gimmick. Stephanie White scowls from the sidelines when the offense stagnates and scores 15 points in a quarter. However, the coach rushes over for a hug to take credit for the momentum when Caitlin Clark saves the awful half-court offense with an incredible side-deep three. It is entirely manufactured. The most amazing advancement in Caitlin Clark's game is being completely overlooked by the media critics, who are preoccupied with applauding Stephanie White's masterpiece. The media has promoted the idea that Caitlin Clark doesn't play defense throughout the entire season. Throughout the entire pre-game program, they ridiculed her, labeling her a defensive liability and a poor teammate. However, that story is completely destroyed by the tape. Watch Caitlin Clark shut down the Atlanta guards.
Cool. This is that defense that Caitlin Clark doesn't play? Shutting down Tahina Pow Pow. Pow, pow. Shut down. Oh, where are you going? Oh, don't go there. Oh, nope. Oh, in prison. Somebody that doesn't play defense, not too bad, huh? For somebody that doesn't play defense, not too bad. Take a look at this Caitlin Clark assist. This is a nice angle right here. Oh, boom. Lexi Hole. Pull up. Nice. And there's the Maisha Hines-Allen screen that I was talking about.
She's playing defense flawlessly. She is making defensive reads, closing out on Jordan Canada, staying ahead of Ryan Howard and sliding her feet. However, because it undermines her talking points, the commentators will not mention it all. Despite her coach's best efforts to limit her offensive effect, Caitlin Clark is working hard on both sides of court. Without a doubt, the Indiana Fever's outstanding attacking strategy did not help them win this game. The bench came in and dominated, which is why they won. A plus 15 was Raven Johnson. A plus 11 was Sophie Cunningham. A plus 10 was Maisha Hines-Allen. The starting lineup, which had several players with negative plus-minus ratings, was entirely saved by the bench. The coaching staff's usage of this 83-71 triumph is a terrible truth. This felt just like the game Stephanie White would point to and say, "See, we don't need Caitlin Clark to dominate in order to win," as the experts noted. They are making a concerted effort to demonstrate that the secret to success is a dull, plotting attack led by Kelsey Mitchell. The supporters oppose Caitlin Clark being reduced to a supporting role. The best basketball spectacle is what the fans watch. And every triumph will seem like a huge letdown until the coaching staff removes the handcuffs and allows her to play freely. Click like, sign up for WNBA Pro, and turn on the alert. Here, we'll be dissecting each and every moment in its unadulterated form.